After living in Mexico for about a year, I've come to realize a lot. And since I've been here, I've noticed a lot of freedoms that I would not be able to experience in the US, including not being surveilled by flock cameras, having access to lots of different cell phones and cars that are banned or just not available in the US, freedom from data centers making my utility bills skyrocket, plus the way Mexico picks their elected leaders is not only more straightforward, but much more fair. And more, so welcome to part 2 of why Mexico has more freedom than USA. The first thing we're going to talk about is that Mexico is more free to pick their political leaders in comparison to how it's done in the US. And while we're doing that, I'm going to be walking around City Hall in Puerto Vallarta because, unfortunately, I have not yet been invited to the President's Palace. Which is too bad, because the way Mexico elects their president is much more fair than the way it's done in the US. In Mexico, whichever political candidate gets the most votes gets to be the president. Simple, right? However, in the US, this is not the case. In the US, the person that gets the most votes might get to be president, but George W. Bush, for example, and a certain felon lost the popular vote on their first presidential campaigns and yet still got to be president. In the US, the president is decided by states, not the people, in an electoral college, which basically means that 48 out of the 50 states give all of their electoral votes to one candidate, even if the state is split 51% to 49%. The two states that could potentially split their votes are Maine and Nebraska, but it's rare for them to do that. Furthermore, in Mexico, your president cannot run again for president. And a single term makes a lot of sense to me. It seems like that would really help to make sure a president doesn't try to hold on to power for longer than they should. Also, the fact that Mexico has 4 major political parties also makes a lot of sense. In the US, you're presented with a binary choice. Either you vote this way or you vote that way, which leaves a lot of people feeling like neither candidate represents them, making those people a lot less likely to vote at all. Another thing is that no one can just inherit a political position from a Mexican elected leader. In the US Senate, it's common for the wife of a senator to be appointed to their seat if a senator passes away while in office. In the US recently, a senator did pass away who happened to not be married, and so the governor of that state appointed the dead senator's sister. And if that sounds really weird to you, it's because it is really weird. Number 2, in Mexico, you are a lot more free from government surveillance. And as evidence of that, there are no flock cameras in Mexico, which is a good thing. Flock cameras are automatic license plate reader cameras installed by thousands of law enforcement agencies across the United States. They photograph passing vehicles, record license plates, and often capture details such as the vehicle's make, model, color, bumper stickers, roof rack, and the time and location of travel. It's basically like Face ID for your car, and I've heard a lot of people talking about how they actually are being used for actual facial recognition. Although I'm not sure. But I am sure if they were being used for that, they probably wouldn't tell you. Flock cameras log your license plate number, GPS location, and store that data. So over weeks and months, this can reveal patterns like where you work, where you live, where you like to stop and get your coffee, everything. Essentially, this is how the US government can track everyone. Not to mention the fact that the flock company's CEO has called people that don't support their efforts terrorists. So yeah, they seem like a particularly evil company to me. Now in Mexico, there are normal security cameras and traffic cameras, but nothing equipped with facial recognition or AI-assisted license plate reading cameras or anything like that. So you're free to walk around without the government stalking you, which is not the case in the US. Number 3, in Mexico, you're more free from data centers making your utility bills skyrocket. There are currently no more than 66 data centers in Mexico, according to datacentermap.com. Data centers require millions of gallons of drinking water and enough electricity to power a whole city. So the reasons why you wouldn't want one of these things in your neighborhood are obvious. Unless you just want your utility bills to skyrocket, in which case data centers are great. In the US, there are thousands of data centers, and they're only building more. Now, I'm not really a fan of AI myself, which is allegedly what these data centers are used for. But if you do use AI, you can absolutely still do that in Mexico, or in almost any other country in the world. All of the same AI services provided in the US are provided pretty much everywhere. But it's people in the US that are having to deal with most of the negative impacts of those companies. So it definitely seems like for Mexico, this is an absolute win. Number 4. In Mexico, you're more free to buy whatever phone or car you want. The US phone market is dominated by Apple and Samsung. And to a lesser extent, there's Google and LG, I think. but it's pretty rare to see somebody that doesn't have an iPhone or a Galaxy of some kind. In Mexico, there are iPhones, Galaxies, and lots of other phones you straight up cannot get in the US, like Huawei and Xiaomi, Honor, and so many other phones that are actually really good from what I hear. But Huawei and Xiaomi are just flat out banned in the US. And most of the other phones have just decided they'd rather avoid the US market altogether. And it's a similar situation when it comes to cars. Lots of car brands are not sold in the US, like Geely and Jetour, and these cars actually look really cool. And other car companies that you see in the US all the time do not sell all of their models in the US. There are Volkswagen pickup trucks in Mexico, and coming from the US, I had no idea these things even existed. And it goes far beyond that. Number 5. In Mexico, I definitely think people feel more free to just be themselves. In the US, there's a lot of pressure to conform to what society wants you to be. In Mexico, I see a lot more individuality, and people are a lot less image obsessed in general. And now this is just my perspective, but I definitely feel like there is far less racial discrimination in Mexico. There are people of every race everywhere I've been, and I haven't seen even the slightest hint that someone is being mistreated because of their race. In addition to there being little to no racial discrimination, Mexico is also accepting of the LGBTQ+ community. I'm currently in Puerto Vallarta, and it has one of the most visible and well-established LGBTQ+ communities in Latin America. While the city itself is home to people of many backgrounds, its LGBTQ+ culture is especially centered around the Zona Romantica, which has developed over several decades into a neighborhood with LGBTQ+ owned businesses, nightlife, hotels, restaurants, and community organizations. It is widely regarded as Mexico's premier LGBTQ+ travel destination. Number 6. Young adults in Mexico are more free from ageism. In most places in the US, you have to be 21 to gamble, but you can join the military if you're only 18. You need to be 21 to drink alcohol, but you can vote when you're only 18. Now, I'm not recommending you drink or gamble at any age. Doing either of those things can be a bad idea, but I think it's strange the legal age to all those things aren't just the same age. In Mexico, it's simple. When you're 18, you're an adult, and you get all the responsibility that comes along with it. Number 7. In Mexico, homeowners are free from weird rules having to do with air conditioners. HVAC regulations, as far as I can tell, these rules don't seem to really exist in Mexico, which I see as a huge benefit to Mexican homeowners. In the US, if you want to get a traditional home loan, the house you want to buy must pass a 4-point inspection. One of those 4 points is the central heat and air conditioner in that house. And central heat and air usually costs somewhere between $6,000 and $20,000 USD. This can create a huge hurdle when trying to buy or sell a house in the US, because not only does the central AC have to work perfectly, your system also can't be more than like 9 years old, I think. So even if the house has central AC that works perfectly fine, if it's too old, either the seller or the buyer has to buy a new one before the house can be sold. Now, this is a great policy if you sell central heat and air, but for everyone else, it's a huge expense. Now, is all of this expense required to air condition or heat your home? Absolutely not. There are many more cost-efficient ways of doing this, but the banks simply won't allow the purchase unless there's a new working system in place. In Mexico, however, if you want AC, you can get a mini-split system for a fraction of the cost, which works perfectly fine. And if you can follow the instructions on the box, this is potentially something you could even install yourself. Now, don't get me wrong, you can buy these same mini split systems in the US, but they just don't pass 4-point inspection, so they're a lot less common. Also, the electrical and plumbing regulations seem to be a lot more relaxed in Mexico, but just like usual, everything seems to work perfectly fine. But let me know if I left something out in the comments. And if you made it this far, make sure to like the video and please subscribe. Till next time.